Week 1 is in the books. Coming up on this edition of the Die Hard Den podcast, we go on the ball and defend the den as we look at the Lions' performance in the desert and the epic overtime tie with the Arizona Cardinals. Then we'll go with 2 Points Conversing as we cover a controversial figure in the NFL. We'll have another spectacular outright profile on a Lions legend. All this and more coming up on this edition of the Die Hard Den podcast. Watch out, here comes that roar. What up, though? And welcome to the Die Hard Den podcast. This is Kurt Steele, and as always, I'm with my man, Seany J. Seany J, what's up?
What's happening, Kurt? How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, my man. Good to hear you. All right, this week, as we always do at this time, it is time to tell me something good. Now, Seany J, I know you want to talk about this, so go ahead, my man. Tell me something good.
Tell me something good is, of course, rookie T.J. Hockenson. Oh, man, the Lions wasted a good performance. The best performance of a rookie tight end is debut game, 6 receptions, 131 yards, and a TD. Oh, man, the Lions wasted an excellent performance from him. I hope we get many. I'm sure we get many more, but still, it's like I hated when he wasted good performances from Barry or Calvin, Herman Moore. I hated when he wasted these performances. You know, they play one off the win. We'll get into that later. But as far as TJ goes, I know I was disappointed. I'm sure a lot of Lions fans were disappointed when they drafted him in the first round of the Rings draft. Another tight end, I was hoping for an awesome pass rusher or a linebacker or even offensive lineman. You know, we drafted our third tight end in the first round the last 10 years. But Hockenson, I know it's one game, but he looks like the real deal. He's everything that Eric Ebron was supposed to be, and Brandon Pettigrew too, for that matter. He showed excellent hands. He doesn't let the ball touch his body. He goes for it. He catches with his hands. He knows that he'll let it hit his body. And he has pretty good speed for a big guy, and he even line him up as a wide receiver instead of a tight end. And he used his size. He's a good blocker, you know. They kind of use him as a lead blocker. They motion them, go up the middle like a fullback. He's also a great blocker. These are things that Ebron and Pettigrew is supposed to do for us. Pettigrew's a pretty good blocker, but Eric Ebron is supposed to be the real deal, a prototype tight end. He never really reached his full potential with the Lions, even though he showed flashes, Ebron. He showed, he showed everything last year to the Colts, but now that Andrew Luck is gone, let's see what he does. He only had one catch Sunday's game for the Colts. And so far, I got to say, I said this in our Lions group that Hockenson's already better as a tight end than Ebron and Pettigrew was combined. And young man, but I want to see him have at least a prosperous 10-year career for the Lions, an all-pro career, and a Hall of Fame tight end. I want to see him be the next Gronk or Gonzo, Tony Gonzalez. Gronk or Gonzo. That's all I want to see. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, my man, for your Tell Me Something Good. All right, for myself, my Tell Me Something Good, the Lions players today hosted a community outreach event. They did a rocket launch to launch off the season with kids from the Detroit Lions Academy. It's a good community outreach and get involved with the young kids involved with the Detroit Lions Academy. And also, yesterday, the Lions, along with Ford Field, hosted the Slow Roll, which is a community bike ride, again, to launch the season off with the community in downtown Detroit. It's a good way to mix the Lions players and media, because actually Terry Petrie, the Lions multimedia reporter, and she also does some of the in-game reporting for Fox, especially in the preseason. She was there as well. So shout out to the Lions and Ford Field for hosting those community events. So now it is time to go on the ball with the offense versus the Cardinals. I'm going to kick it off. My man Stafford looked good. He was tossing that rock around, took few too many shots from the D-line. However, threw passes to 8 different receivers. He ended up with 27 of 45, 385, 3 touchdowns. He got sacked 3 times. His quarterback rating was 110. Overall, I like the performance from Matthew Stafford. You know, he didn't make every throw, but he made enough of them. You know, 385 yards. Looked like the old Stafford of back in the day, but it was balanced Matthew Stafford. What you got about my man Matthew Stafford?
Stafford played a hell of a game. He showed some wheels too. He showed some speed when he ran for 2 first downs, in
Right.
that game. So 3 touchdowns. Like you said, no interceptions. Now he fumbled twice, losing one of them, but that's because Taylor Decker, his left tackle, had a piss poor game.
Yeah.
In fact, both tackles, I was, Logan Loreminder of Lions Report, who I follow, he made a post, he may have seen this, that the Lions tackles had the worst PFF over the weekend, and Stafford was the most pressured quarterback over the weekend. No surprise in there. Even
Right.
when he wasn't sick, he had to kind of roll around. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
disappointed in the way that Taylor Decker in particular played, because for no one draft pick, left tackle, that's a very important. That position is just as important as any on the team, especially when you get a right-handed quarterback, as most of the quarterbacks in the league are right-handed, and that's
Mm-hmm.
your blind side. I mean,
Right.
our left tackles are sometimes the top pick overall in the draft, and they get paid a ton of money, almost just under a quarterback or a running back or other stars on the team. So
Mm-hmm.
I think if our tackles and our offensive line overall play better, we should have blown the Cardinals out, no doubt about it. We should have
Right.
blown them out. I mean, we let them off the hook.
Right.
When AC Walker made that nice interception deep in Cardinal territory, but we turned it over on the very next play. That was embarrassing. I mean, that's on Taylor. He let his man run free. I don't know what the hell was he smoking weed the night before?
I don't know about that,
Had a
but
poor game.
yeah, Taylor Decker definitely had a poor game, my man. I hear you. We already talked about Hawkinson with his NFL record for a debut for a tight end, 6 catches for 131 yards, averaged 21 yards per catch, and he had a touchdown. Hawkinson, like you say, he's the real deal. Blocking, receiving with the speed down the field. He has some big plays. I can't say enough good things about the rookie. I know you talked about him and tell me something good. I wanted just to give my 2 cents. There was a play where he led block for Kerryon Johnson. If you look at the play after Kerryon Johnson got stopped for about a 5 or 6 yard gain, TJ got up and flexed on him. So hey, he was
everything Eric Ebron was advertised to be.
Yeah. When I live in North Carolina, I watched Ebron in college. He really wasn't a blocking tight end. He was that offense that they ran in at the Tar Heels. It was more of a spread offense, not what they run now under Mac Brown. So, I mean, this college career, I can see why the Lions drafted him. I don't see why they drafted him so high, but I can see why they drafted him. He was a very talented receiver here at North Carolina, down here where I live. But we're moving on from that guy. He's in Indianapolis, but TJ did his thing. So the next thing I have is the running game. Kind of sputtered some. They had 32 attempts combined as a team, 116 yards. That's decent, but they only averaged about 3.6 yards per carry. Excuse me. That was something that we definitely need to fix, is the running game. I think if we give my man KJ some more touches, I think would be a little bit better. I think they tried to keep the fresh a little bit too long. You know, that to me, that disrupts your rhythm. So Kerryon can get in a rhythm if you keep taking him out of the game and just keep doing it by committee. I think he's a good enough player where you can make him a workhorse. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, the offensive line, the running game showed promise, but like it says, it can go anywhere. Like I said, our entire offensive line got to play better. The reason why they went out and got C.J. Anderson, a big back, who I love the big running backs as well, is because they're worried as talented as Kerryon is he durable enough to be the man? They'll carry it 20, 25 times a game. I mean, because injury problems in college, his season was cut short last year. They were, like you said, it was fresh and healthy. I don't mind, you got to spell and give him a breather every now and then. Still, I think if our offensive line would have played a little bit better, especially the tackles, we could have won the game. We could have dominated the game. We were dominating, but we left the Cardinals off the hook. I think they got a little too conservative, both on offense and defense. They should have kept about the defense in a minute, but they should have kept putting the heat and pressuring and blitzing that rookie quarterback. They were pre-event when the defensive line was just the line, but let them stand in the pocket. They should put more pressure on them. So I wouldn't have done that. I would have blitzed them 4 downs, every down. Put more pressure.
Yeah.
That's me. We'll talk about that in a minute. Yes. I think the running game will be fine, but they try to keep everybody healthy, especially carry on. Gets going. I'm sure they're right behind the hand, leave him in there, give him the ball 30 times if necessary. If he's hot and if he deserves more carries, they'll give him more carries.
Amendola, he had a good game. I liked his game. However, that costly move at the end, wasting time. I didn't like that. He's too good of a veteran to not get out of bounds. Cost us to use our last and final timeout in overtime. Wasting time, cutting the ball back in. You right by the sideline. Just step out and let us reset and do another play down the field. That's the only thing really negative I had to say about Amendola. He actually played a really good game. Had a nice touchdown from Matthew Stafford. We had a decent balance on offense, actually. It was 45 passes and 32 runs, which that's not like a Lions team. It's usually probably double that amount of passes. And I mean, our offenses have been pass centric. So to have that type of balance was very good for me. I like to see that.
Yes, but to make the offensive work, I'm a big offensive line guy. I want to see our line play better. You notice, they switched the line, the interior line a little bit. They took Graham Glasgow out for a minute. They put Kenny Wiggins and Joe Dallas the guards for a while. So is Graham hurt or what?
Right.
And I don't know. They were trying to get the right blocking combination or protection combination. I'm not sure what's going on there.
I know Graham had a holding penalty. They were trying to just have a battery and try to keep guys fresh. I know Dahl started at one of the guards as well. And actually, he had one of the higher ratings in the PFF score for the game. Actually, Joe Dahl had an very good game in the offensive line. It was his battery mates, those tackles really, really struggled, especially we talked about it a little bit earlier. Taylor Decker, too many penalties, too many sacks, the sack fumble. It got to the point where they had to bring over a tight end, either a tight end or a running back to help chip that person who was across from Decker, which for me is a little bit out of character. I know he's a good, solid offensive tackle, left tackle, but I think that he's had some issues like he's had before in the past, but he needs to definitely improve his play, or that he'll get run out of town real fast in Detroit.
That's probably one of the worst game he had since he's been in Detroit. And so he hopefully improves starting this week against the Chargers for sure.
Right. The Lions need to pick it up definitely on third down. They struggled. They only went 6 for 18 for third down. Even with the points that they scored, they were getting first downs early, first, second down, but they need to improve the third down percentages going forward. Defense. You my man, Seany J. I know you like defense. What you see from the defense?
Once again, we played that rookie good. We made him look like a rookie in his first start. We batted his passes down. We sacked him 5 times. We rushed, but like I said, this was a 3-quarter game. In the fourth quarter, when the Cardinals made their 18-point comeback to tie the game, like I said, we got conservative on both sides of the ball. We stopped seeing them and rushing. That's what I saw. They just pretty much rushed 3 or kept 3 at the line just to keep them scrambling. They didn't really pass rush them. They just let them sit back there in the pocket and put and we didn't put enough pressure on them, so that disappointed me. So the coaches, all 3 coaches, get a feeling where I'm talking about Patricia, Bevel, and who's the defense coordinator, Pasquale?
Yeah, Pasquale.
Yeah, I think they all get D's or at best for that performance. Then the Cardinals back in the game because they got too conservative play calling on defense. I think they played the run fairly good. What's his name? David Johnson had a few nice runs, but we pretty much contained him. I noticed that they started A'Shawn Robinson over Mike Daniels in the game. I'd like to see Daniels and Snacks because those are 2 veterans, and they paid Daniels a lot of money. They gave Snacks a lot of money. I expect them to start the game. But they'll get some time, I guess, because no one plays every snap anymore. No one's in more Iron Man because a lot of rotations. And the defense, I noticed that Tracy Walker had the highest PFF of any Lion. Again, he had over 80 or 81 PFF.
Yes, he did. He led the team in tackles with 9. He had an interception, 2 pass defense.
Yes. To me, maybe I'm too hard. I see a mixed bag. He made 2 good plays. Of course, the interception at the beginning of the game that they wasted. And he made a nice stick on Larry Fitzgerald, which caused him to drop the ball. I like that, from behind. It wasn't dirty. Punched the ball loose. Nice stick. I like those two plays. However, he gave 2 big plays to Fitzgerald as well. I think one in particular, he didn't play this pretty much, in my opinion, this looked like he let Fitz catch the ball near the sidelines for a first down, so I didn't like that. I want him to see him making plays like Glover Quinn, when Glover Quinn was younger, when he first came to Detroit, a ball hawking free safety. I like to see him do more, be, no fly zone, don't allow any receptions or very few.
Well, he still, to me, I think Walker had a solid game. I get what you're saying. I got you. A couple of those catches with Larry Fitzgerald, it was Larry being Larry. Especially the one when he laid out. Tracy Walker was blanketed all over him. He just kind of laid out and caught the ball. The Lions adjusted and they put Slay on Larry, so I can understand that. I think he had a decent game. He was one of my high points. Yeah, the high point. He had that high PFF score. I'm gonna tell you what I saw. One thing I want to tell you I saw. We had 2 key personnel that I can see that was out, and it really showed up in the fourth quarter with Jared Davis and Deshaun Hand not playing. When you bring those rotational players in, like you had 2 second stringers started. So when you actually have to rotate people in, you rotate in at those third string guys. I understand, everybody's pros and, I get it. They are paid to play the game, but you have starters for a reason where you could have rotated those guys that started in with those missing individuals that should have been there or could have been there, just because of injury. That hurt the depth of the Lions defense on rotation basis in the fourth quarter where you couldn't bring in as many fresh bodies. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah. And I would say this with that no huddle, that definitely, that definitely hurt because it shows that with the new conditioning rules that they have in the NFL and some of the rules they have for practicing, that the conditioning is gonna get you those first couple weeks in the NFL just because you haven't played at full game speed. Most of the guys on the team didn't play a lot during the preseason, and their conditioning for game speed isn't what it used to, isn't what it's supposed to be to play a full game. You understand what I'm saying? Like those preseason games, they're playing a quarter, a half maybe, but they're not playing the whole 60 minutes. And it showed on Sunday when in that fourth quarter when they started running that no huddle and those defensive guys were sucking wind.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But Mike Daniels, Devon Kennard had 3 sacks, right?
Yes, he did.
Mike Daniels was the guy who made Kyler Murray run out of the pocket. He was the cause for a couple of those sacks. He get the hockey assist from me. He's the disruptive force in the passing game. He made enough plays where he forced a couple of those sacks by Kennard, where he flushed him out of the pocket. That was a good deal for my man Mike Daniels.
Yes. And Jelani Tavai played good too. He had a quarterback sack on Murray.
Yeah, I like Tavai. He's proven, like TJ Hawkinson, to be a valuable commodity. People don't like that draft pick, but Tavai played very well on Sunday, and it wasn't too big. He played exactly like he's supposed to play.
Is he the new Junior Seau?
I don't know about that, but we won't go that far. However, he definitely played above what I thought he would play for the first opening game.
Yeah. It would be nice to have Davis in there. Sure, you want all your weapons when you go into the game, but I don't think they missed Davis much because Tavai played an excellent game. They could use sure no defensive lineman. They could use he played well last year. He got hurt. His season ended last year of injury in Arizona, but they could have used another extra defensive lineman. But Tavai, he played well, and when Davis does come back at some point this season, I hope they keep Tavai in the middle and they move Jarrett to the outside where he can use his speed and ability as a pass rusher. I really like Davis. I like this kid Tavai too. I think they both should be in the starting lineup, in my opinion.
The thing is that the Lions they'll have a lot of packages where they're running a 3-4. So you'll have both of those guys roaming around in that middle. I just think myself, Davis with his speed, he'll get to the quarterback a lot faster. Like you say, in the running around, let him roam free, use his speed to make some plays. Too many penalties on defense, too many costly penalties. It was. Yeah, that was kind of hard for me to digest. I think Coleman had a decent debut. He gave some good passes defense. Actually, the person who made the most pass defense on the Lions was actually, and it's not a surprise to me, is Melvin. Melvin had 3 pass defense on the team, and I think the reason why that's not a surprise for me is that Kyler Murray has seen enough of Darius Slay's game film where he gonna stay away from that guy. That's one dude you don't want to throw towards. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Big play gonna make you pay. That's my guy right there.
And
You know?
I reposted this in the group this
Mm-hmm.
week before the game about from the Pride of Detroit in June article by Kent LaPlante. The
Mm-hmm.
math guy, the analytical guy. He said the Lions have one of the faster secondaries in the NFL. He's an analytical guy. He said with the addition of Melvin and even
Mm-hmm.
Agnew and other guys, the Lions are very, very fast in secondary. And I was
Mm-hmm.
hoping that would translate for this the whole season until a very good pass defense, obviously a good secondary against the pass, and very selfish, not giving big plays because according to him, we have one of the fastest secondaries in the league. I hope he's right about that because if it's true, that would be awesome. It'd be anything but awesome. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, definitely. If we can keep those guys healthy and back there, because Melvin was a little banged up. He had to come out a couple of times during the game. As long as we can keep him healthy and on the field. One thing I want to address, actually two things, but one thing is that I follow Snacks on Twitter. And if you look on the Lions website today, there was an article published. I think it was by Tim Twentyman. Snacks took responsibility for the loss. He said it was on him 100%. He said he didn't perform. And that's big from a defensive leader of any leader of the team. But even when he had a couple passes batted down, he said he didn't play the way he should have, and he said he will fix that for the upcoming game versus the Chargers. Now that's a big thing for a man to admit that he didn't do what he was supposed to do on the field. You know what I'm saying?
I saw that article. I didn't read the whole article, but I saw the headlines where he said he admitted he didn't play a great game, or the game we got used to seeing him play when he came to Detroit because it was impossible to run up the middle on the Lions after he came to the Lions.
Right. So that's a big thing. I appreciate that kind of candor, and for him to come out and say, "Hey, it was on me." I know he said big ups to them for tying the game up, but that tie is on me. I like to see stuff like that when men can own up to their mistakes or if they didn't do what the things they're supposed to. To me, it's just that's a good show of character. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, and another thing, last thing I want to talk about on the defense, I got to bring him up. It's your boy. He struggled again.
Yes, I was pissed off. I'm starting to lose faith in him because he's making me look bad. He muffed that punt. He lost that fumble, and he's struggling in coverage. I'm very disappointed. Maybe he's one of those flashes in the pans, Right. He looked good his rookie season. I thought he was going to be awesome. I thought we got a steal. I thought he was like the next Deion Sanders, but now he's playing more like Colonel Sanders, and he embarrassed me that fumble punt, and he gave receptions. They give him every chance. They know he's talented. Like I said, he's supposed to be one of those speed guys, one of the faster guys in a very fast secondary. I give Patricia sees the talent. He knows he got the talent. He knows he's got the speed. But, once again, there's a lot of guys that have talent and speed, size, but don't produce. Can't play ball. We see all the time. Like those guys who have excellent combines, NFL combines, for instance.
The workout warriors.
Exactly. Yeah. Reps on the bench press. They do an excellent 40 time. They all the drills, the pass drills, the cones, all that. They look good. But when it comes time to play ball, in the game, they all that goes to the wayside.
Right. It was hard for me to digest. It was definitely a little myth with that guy when he muffed that punt and gave those guys, because he opened the scoring for them. They had a shutout going, and I was like, come on, man. We'll see. I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest with you. We got the McKissick guy, Jell's name, McKissick, that came over from Seattle. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the rookie Amani Oruwariye the next game. If he doesn't have a good week of practice, it wouldn't surprise me if Patricia made a move where he puts in the rookie as that rotational guy down the stretch, where to give the starter some breathers. Just because of the fact that Agnew, he's a little undersized. He just continued to struggle in coverage. He's not impressing me on the defensive side of the ball at all. Special teams, my man Prater did his thing, kicking the ball very well, making some big field goals. The one block punt, I would say the rookie safety, he gave that up. He lost his balance. Yeah, Will Harris gave that block punt up. He couldn't hold that block, and the guy just went around him or actually pushed him into Sam Martin pretty much. much.
That's coaching once again on the coach. Why they got a rookie in that position anyway? They should have a veteran player, a linebacker. Why they got a rookie safety? Yeah, he should make some big plays, but in preseason, but he shouldn't have been in that position anyway. They should have a veteran player in that position. Could have put what's his name, number 32 for us.
Tavon Harris,
somebody like veteran back there, or a linebacker in that position, or put Zach Zinner played that position in the past, but he's gone now. But you could have put anything but a rookie.
Yep. The last thing for the special team is what's his man name? D Virgin, man. He had like 3 holding penalties on returns. On punt returns.
He didn't have a good game either, and he might be on the way.
He was killing me on that one. But all right, that's all I got from the special team. What you got, my man?
Yeah, before we move on, we must talk about the controversial timeout call when the Lions are trying to run out the clock. About that. I mean, I was watching the game,
right?
And the time clock like it's about to run out, and Daryl Bevel kind of half-heartedly called a timeout, and the referees they ran out timeout. We had a touchdown on that play. Not just the first down, but a touchdown. But who was that fault? Was that a timeout? It looked like there was 1 second left on the clock. Stafford does play close with that clock. Like it's about to play a penalty game. Play a game.
Yeah. I would say this, and if you look at some of the video, Matthew Stafford was upset on the sideline. He was saying, "You got to trust me. You got to trust me." I did see that. I think that he does do that, but he knows how to play that clock down. You got a new offensive coordinator, hasn't spent that much time with Matthew Stafford on the field in game situations. So it is going to be an adjustment period for both of them to kind of get to know each other. So it's going to be an adjustment for Stafford to get to know him as a play caller, and he's going to have to get used to Matthew Stafford's mannerisms on the field. I think Matthew Stafford is a good clock manager. He knows how to call timeouts. He knows how to work that play clock down. So he pretty much it's almost saying, but I thought it would have been a good play. You should have just let it go on. Here is the deal. Daryl Bevel cannot call a timeout. The only person on the team that can call a timeout from the sideline is Matt Patricia. So that really falls on him to me, and not Daryl Bevel. Daryl Bevel got his attention and signal for, hey, we need a timeout, and Matt Patricia had to call it. It's neither here nor there now, where, that would have been definitely a scoring play, or at least it had an opportunity to be really where they ended the game right then and there, where it wouldn't have been a tie.
But when you look at, let's look at the clock. What the clock was about to run out, right? Did he get the snap off on time? Because it was so. Huh?
Yeah, he did get the snap off on time. Yeah, he got off on time
by half a second.
Yeah, about a half a second.
That's too close. Plays are too close sometimes.
Right. It is. However, there's something that I want everybody to tune into. The segment of coming up of Now You Know. We're going to talk about when the commentators talked about the play with Matthew Stafford. He was clapping his hands. That's coming up on Now You Know. I'm not going to talk about it now. Wait till you get to the segment, because there was some confusion by the commentators on what a false start is by the quarterback and the hand clapping. But that'll be later. Get to it, and Now You Know. Check it out. Got some good information to clear up the reasoning why quarterbacks have been called for a false start by clapping their hands in the preseason this year. So now let's move on. It's time for 2 Points Conversing. So, Seany J, you up first, my man. What you want to talk about for 2 Points Conversing?
I got 2 football stories I want to talk about that aren't Lions related, but the NFL is related. And one is about a guy you say you're sick of hearing about, but we're going to hear about him. And the other one's about NFL legend who was a healthy scratch for the first time in his career. I think you know what I'm going with.
Right.
Okay, let's first talk about Mr. Antonio Brown. Was one of the most controversial receivers now in NFL. He's a great receiver, but he's also highly controversial. As are most wide receivers. Like, most receivers are diva types. They're loudmouths. They're trash talkers. I mean, Brown's all that and more. In many ways, he's worse than T.O. or Michael Irvin or Keyshawn Johnson or Randy Moss combined. And he caused a lot of controversy the past year. First, both, him and his boy, Le'Veon Bell, won out of Pittsburgh in the worst way. Bell even sat out the season, gave up $15 million just to get his freedom. Now, Brown at least played, had over 100 catches for the Steelers in his last season, but he was always seen as a locker room cancer. You know, he was playing on third when he should be listening to the coaches. You know, he was sending out his tweets to his followers and his fans when the coach was talking. And him and Tomlin's a good coach. You know, him and Tomlin didn't get along. He wanted out of Pittsburgh so bad. They traded him to Oakland, one of the organization known for taking troubled players, and especially back Al Davis. He's an Al Davis kind of guy, a troublemaker. Somebody teams don't want in a locker room, but the Raiders are still known somewhat, but that's like back in the 70s, you're taking those type of players. Anyway, Brown, he had a tumultuous preseason, the Raiders first, with the frostbitten toes. He was trying to do something. Then he was filed over the helmet.
The cryogenic chamber with the cold healing, where they put you in the cryo chamber, but they say he didn't have on a proper footwear or something happened with. I remember that story. Yeah, go ahead.
And then this helmet, he wanted to wear the same helmet he's wore pretty much for his career in Pittsburgh. He filed a grievance, and he's been nothing but a headache and distraction in Oakland since he's been there, missing practices and everything. And it came to a head when Oakland tried to suspend him. First he apologized, then he doubled down, went back. And, he said, release me or trade me. He's accused of calling Mike Mayock a cracker,
That, what, we're laughing, but it's not after him calling him a cracker. We're laughing at the situation. Yes. I mean, the guy is a nutcase. I mean, that's a terrible thing to call someone. You shouldn't be calling people out of the name like that.
Racial slurs.
Yeah, because those words, words can hurt. And if those words came back towards him in that same manner, that definitely would be something that it'll be an uproar. I don't tolerate that either way. Any race calling anybody a disparaging name. A racial slur. But here's my thing with Antonio. I mean, the guy is clowning. Now he's going to New England. They signed him today, and they made some corresponding moves to get his position open on the roster. However, to me, I understand people have frustrating. Football is a professional business, and you want to be a man, and you want to do this, and you want to do that. And he's talented. He's a talented receiver. I am so thankful that the Lions did not try to go after him at free agency. He kind of forced his way out. Then he made a video where he's got the phone call between him and Gruden. And then the guy who made the video was on Dan Labertard or ESPN radio show the other day. And he said, yes, that Gruden approved his voice in the video. This is after the apology, and the Raiders said they were going to void his contract. They were going to, because once they fined him, it was in their contract they could avoid all his guarantees. So when they fined him, that would have triggered the loss of all his guaranteed money and would have pretty much put him he was playing check to check for his games. They had no guaranteed money. So here's my thing. I know Oakland, you see this guy and you see everything he goes through or puts people through, and but what's that old adage? You get what you pay for. You paid that money to him and you got what you paid for. So now he's somebody else's problem, but on the field, yes. Off the field, he's just not worth it. I think he's a toxic individual. I don't think he needs. I'm glad he's not on the Lions because I wouldn't want him to bring that toxic personality to our team.
I raised that possibility in our group, and it was about 50-50. People said, hell yeah. People said, hell no. They didn't want him on the team. You want the hell no.
Yeah, me. I was on the negative.
But wait, it's not over. Can he coexist with Belichick and Brady in New England? Can he be like the Rasheed Wallace, where Rasheed Wallace came to the Pistons, help him to a title? Rasheed was malcontent, he has all those years Portland, Antonio Brown's a similar story. Can Belichick control him?
It was going to be interesting to see. I will say that he's already mocked the Patriot way on Instagram earlier today. We'll see if that stuff works out. I know one person who's going to be happy to see him is Tom Brady. You think about this. You think about if Antonio Brown plays next week, you're going to have Tom Brady's receivers are going to be Julian Edelman, Antonio Brown, and Josh Gordon. The rich get richer. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So yeah,
Bill Gates getting us $1 billion almost.
yeah, it is. So talk about your boy getting a healthy scratch.
Yeah, we could go all along against Antonio. I'm going to watch. I'm sure the NFL is going to watch Antonio, see will he survive. Because I say one more thing, I'll move on. Former Lion Patriot Damon Willie already won't make it under Belichick, but we shall see. But the healthy scratch is future Hall of Fame running back Adrian Peterson. He was a healthy scratch for the Washington Redskins because they wanted to start Darius Geis, who was drafted last year, but he got hurt, missed the season. That's the only reason why the Skins signed Adrian. Adrian's got other running backs, good young running backs. They gave time to because Adrian this stage you can't play him on special teams. You can't expect him to come. So anyway, he was a healthy scratch for the very first time in his career. And this may signal the end. It wouldn't surprise me if he did the way he wants to continue playing, but it wouldn't surprise me if he gets waived soon. Remember 2 years ago in New Orleans, he that confrontation on the sideline with Sean Payton. He wanted to play, and Sean Payton didn't have him in the game. And shortly after, he got traded to the Cardinals. Same thing. He was a healthy scratch, didn't play at all. If he doesn't play next week, or it's another healthy scratch or inactive, what have you, it's going to be interesting how long he stays in Washington. See, they want to go guys, and if
he's playing next week. You know why?
Why?
Because guys got hurt again in the game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's gonna play. Guys got hurt again. Guys got hurt again. He's been evaluated. He may have another season in the injury already.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he's been evaluated for injury right now. He got hurt. He got carted off. We're talking about some bad luck. I mean, look at what's his name? Nick Foles. I mean, they signed him all that money, and first quarter he gets a broken collarbone.
Yeah, that was a nasty hit.
Yeah, same with Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill just signed a contract extension. Came back in, got out all that trouble and came in. And the reason I knew about him because he's on my fantasy team. And next thing you know, I'm looking up and the guy who I'm playing has Sammy Watkins and he has 50 million points because Tyreek Hill got hurt with another broken collarbone himself. So you never know where that stuff's going to lead you, in the NFL. And that's one thing that I want to talk about. 2 Points Conversing. I want to tell you, I did a bonehead thing this weekend on my fantasy team. Man, I have 2 tight ends on my fantasy squad. I have one Kyle Rudolph, which is a established veteran tight end who is a really good player, and I have one lovely specimen of a tight end, Mr. TJ Hawkinson. And I left TJ on the bench and I started Kyle Rudolph, and Kyle Rudolph got me absolutely 0 fantasy points. That will never happen again. TJ Hawkinson, every game but the bye, he's going to be my starting tight end on my fantasy football team.
Smart.
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking about. It was a bonehead move on my part. I didn't play him. I was just like, oh yeah. Kyle Rudolph had more projected points. And I'm like, well, I'm looking at the linebackers and the secondary for Atlanta. I'm thinking Rudolph will have a good game. I don't even think the Vikings threw the ball double digits in the whole game. That they just ran the ball down Atlanta's throat. So, but that's on me. But TJ, I won't do it again, my man. You'll be starting the rest of the season on my fantasy football squad.
Remember, I posted in our group, Lions Truest Fans group, actually Stafford, Amendola, and Hawkinson all had good fantasy numbers. So
yeah,
it helps some people with their fantasy. They only tied the game. They should help some people in the fantasy. That was my post to at least help you guys in fantasy today. So I'm sure.
I was a little miffed at myself. I didn't play him.
Shame.
I messed myself up. All right, so we're gonna head to the break, and once we come back, we're gonna have an all-power profile on another Lions legend. back from break. So, my man, Seany J, let me hear you. Who do you have for this week's Our Pride profile?
This week, I want to profile another Lions legend who was one of my favorite Lions back in the day, and he still is. I'm talking about one Mr. Horatio Benny Blades. Yes, Benny Blades was born in Miami, Florida, September 3rd, 1966. He recently celebrated his 53rd birthday. He was a high school star, a multi-sport star in football, track, and baseball, and he was one of Jimmy Johnson's first recruits to the U. He played his entire career with JJ before JJ moved on to the Dallas Cowboys, and he was a hard-hitting, trash-talking, gold chain-wearing safety for the University of Miami Hurricanes back in the day. That's how the whole team was. That back then was awesome. They had guys like Brett Perryman and Michael Irvin and Vinny Testaverde, that team was better than a lot of NFL teams. And if you ever saw the 30 for 30 special with the U, Benny was one of the guys that got interviewed. He said it's true that the Hurricanes were more popular than Miami Dolphins at the time.
Mm-hmm.
They got treated better than the Dolphins. I mean, the Dolphins were the pro team, but the Hurricanes got treated better. I mean, they had access to all the club cash and cars. One of the biggest benefactors was our Uncle Luke of Two Life Crew fame. He was a huge fan. He gave cash for big plays, so the Hurricane players made like sacks, touchdowns, interceptions, from etc. But anyway, Benny plays All-American safety for the Kings. He won a national title with them in '87, and he was the Lions' number one draft pick, third pick overall in '88. A draft also brought another great Lions, one of my favorite Lions players in history, who I profiled a couple weeks ago, Chris Spillman. But anyway, Benny Blades was an immediate hit, an immediate starter for the Lions from day one. He played got off as strong safety, and he eventually moved him from free safety, so that he was an interchangeable part. He's one of the toughest SOBs in line history as well. Just like Spill, Blaze suffered a lot of injuries, but you wouldn't know it because he kept on playing. One of the toughest guys. He played with injuries. He played hurt. He played hard. He sacrificed his body for the team for 9 years. He only had 12 career interceptions, but intercepting passes wasn't his forte. His forte was hitting and stuff. And he, when we were short linebackers, he played him at linebacker a couple games, and he is so without, he was a good one of Wayne Fonte's better player. Excuse me, and favorite players. He was first Wayne Fonte was his defensive coordinator, later became his head coach, and he trusted Benny over the field. And Benny, he laid on, he played his heart out for the Lions. He was both him and Spillman, the other guys. So I always respected Benny Blades. He's one of my favorite players. He left the Lions after the 1990 season. He played one final season, 1997, with the Seattle Seahawks with his brother Brian Blades. However, one season because of back injury only limited him to half a season. He had to retire, or his options to retire, be paralyzed, keep on playing. Today, he's in Miami, Florida, working in the city of Miami's recreation department. He's still a legend, a big legend down there. He's still beloved in his community. His son, H.B. Blades, briefly played for the Washington Redskins. And anyway, Benny Blades, that's my man, one of my favorite players. He's up there with Barry and Calvin and Herman Moore and Chris Spillman. I hope he gets better because he's having some health problems, from his career. He, like I say, sacrificed his body, played when he really shouldn't have played. But that was SOBs in Lions history. And I hope he gets life and health back because I love the guy. So that's my profile for the week.
Yeah, Benny Blades was definitely a transformational player at the safety position for the Lions, where he was interchangeable, big hitter. He was just an all-around great athlete, one of my favorite Lions as well. Thank you for that Our Pride profile on one Benny Blades. Now it is time for Now You Know. We're going to cover the controversial clapping in the false start, as well as we're going to break down what the false start is. So stay tuned as we go into the Now You Know segment.
What up, though? Welcome to this week's edition of Now You Know. It's your man, Kurt Steele, and we're going to break down the false start. There was a play that happened in the Lions game on Sunday where Matthew Stafford clapped his hands repeatedly. The commentators were confused to why it was not a false start. There has been an emphasis on calling a false start on a quarterback when he claps his hand. We'll get into that a little bit later, but we're going to read the rule for you of a false start for the offense, what happens after the player and the penalty for a false start, and then we'll break the rule down for you in simplest terms. Article 2, false start. It is a false start if the ball has been placed ready for play, and prior to the snap, an offensive player who has assumed a set position charges or moves in such a way as to simulate a start of a play. If an offensive player who is in motion makes a sudden move towards the line of scrimmage, any quick, abrupt movement by any single offensive player or by several offensive players in unison, which simulates the start of a play, is a false start. Woo, that's a lot of words right there. All right, let's break it down for you. Offensive players need to move in unison at the snap of the ball. Any sudden movement besides that is a false start. If a player is in motion, they only can go up and down a line of scrimmage. They cannot go towards it. They have to move behind the line of scrimmage. All right, so they cannot turn toward the line of scrimmage like they do in arena football or the Canadian Football League. They only can go parallel to the line of scrimmage. Okay, there's one exception to this rule, and here it is. This exception does not apply to an offensive player under center who turns his head or shoulders unless it is an obvious attempt to draw an opponent off sides. All right, the player under center is most likely the quarterback, or sometimes you have a running back who's taking a direct snap. Okay, they can look left and right to make sure players are lined up, as long as they're not bobbing their head or calling signals in an attempt to draw the defensive players offside. Okay, let's break it down for the rest of the offense, and we'll come back to the quarterbacks a little bit later. Item 1, interior lineman. It is a false start if an interior lineman from tackle to tackle takes or simulates a 3-point stance and then changes his position or moves the hand that is on the ground. An interior lineman who is in a 2-point stance is permitted to reset to a 3-point stance to change his position, provided that he resets prior to the snap. He does not reset prior to the snap, it is a false start. Okay, here we go. Plain and simple. If they start in a 3-point stance, they have to stay there. They cannot move their hand on the ground because that simulates the start of a play. So once a offensive lineman has 3 points, that means their hands on the ground, they're set, they're done. Okay, if they're in a 2-point stance, which means they're kind of in a crouch or squatted position and their arms are at their side, they can reset and place their hand on the ground. But if they place their hand on the ground and they're set, it has to be still before the snap of the ball. They cannot go from a 2-point stance to a 3-point stance to a 2-point stance. They have to go either straight to 3 or from 2 to 3 and be set prior to the snap of the ball. If they do not get set or be still, it is a false start. Eligible receivers. Item number 2. If all 11 players have been set for at least 1 full second, an eligible receiver who is on the line of scrimmage moves forward, it's a false start, regardless of the action is quick and abrupt and deliberate. All right, so if they're on the line of scrimmage and they move forward, it's a false start. If an eligible receiver who is on the line of scrimmage moves backwards immediately prior to the snap does not reset, it is a false start. You have seen this happen where players are lined up, and to prevent a illegal formation where they covered up an eligible receiver, the wide receiver takes a step back from the line of scrimmage. They have to reset prior to the snap of the ball. If they do not reset and be still, it is a false start. An eligible receiver is permitted to change from a 2-point stance to a 3-point stance and from a 3-point stance to a 2-point stance, provided he resets prior to the snap. If he does not reset, it is a false start. Now, this is old school. Sometimes back in the day, wide receivers used to get into a 3-point stance and do that. Now, it also refers to running backs and tight ends. If they start in a 2-point stance or a 3-point stance and they want to change, they have to reset prior to the snap of the ball. It is not like the rule for the offensive linemen. They have to be set. So they can go from 2 to 3 to 2. That's the difference. An offensive lineman can go from 2 to 3, but once they're in 3, that's it. And then, like we said in the beginning, if they're in motion, they have to travel parallel to the line of scrimmage. They cannot move towards it. Okay, now let's get back to our quarterback. Player under center. It is legal for a player who has taken a position under center to go in motion, whether he has placed his hands under the center, on his knees, or on the body of the center. However, it is a false start if the action is quick and abrupt, if the player fails to come to a complete stop at least for 1 full second prior to the snap of the ball. It is an illegal motion. Okay, so the quarterback can go under the center and he can step back into a shotgun, or he can walk up to the center and touch it and then go line up, and the running back or a different player can line up behind the center and to receive a direct snap. But they have to be set prior to the snap of the ball, or it's an illegal motion. Okay. A running back or tight end can change their position on the field as long as they are off the line of scrimmage and have been in their new position and still for 1 second before the snap of the ball. Okay, we talked about this a little bit earlier. So long as you can have the person in motion sets before the snap of the ball, be it the quarterback, tight end, wide receiver, or running back, and they're traveling parallel to the line of scrimmage and have to be set 1 second before the snap of the ball, or less, it is a false start or illegal motion. Item number 4, shotgun formation. A player who is in position to receive the snap in shotgun formation is permitted to shift his feet prior to the snap, but any quick and abrupt movement is a false start. This includes thrusting his hands forward when there is not a simultaneous snap. Okay, this is one thing where we're going to get into this a little bit later with the clapping. The thrusting of the hands with the quick and abrupt movement is the reason why Kyler Murray and so many quarterbacks were called for false starts in the preseason, because they were only just clapping their hands. They were clapping their hands and thrusting their hands forward, and the ball was not being snapped. That is a false start. All right. Item number 5, attempt to draw offsides. If it is any obvious attempt for a quarterback or any other player to position themselves to receive the snap to draw the opponent offsides, is a false start. No quick movements. You can't be going to the line of scrimmage, bobbing your head, moving, scratching, whatever, to simulate the snap of the ball. It's illegal for offensive linemen to try to call out a snap once they're set in their position. They cannot call out signals to try to draw the defensive players offsides. Let's get into the clapping again. All right. The NFL has clamped down on quarterbacks clapping. So for clapping, if the quarterback claps his hands and thrusts them forward as if to receive the snap and the ball isn't snapped, it is a false start, hands down. Referees will be forced to make a judgment call on such plays. Now, here's what happened with the Matthew Stafford play. Repeating clapping of the hands, such as Matthew Stafford did in the game, was not an attempt to draw the defensive players offside. He was trying to get the ball snaps in the eyes of the official. His repeated clapping, he did not thrust his hands forward as if he was going to receive the ball. Well, he was just trying to get the center's attention and get the ball snap. That's why he was not flagged for a false start. So there you have it with the quarterbacks. As long as they're clapping their hands just to try to get the ball snap and not trying to thrust their hands forward as if they're trying to simulate the start of the play, that's why individuals have been getting called for false starts when they're clapping their hands at the quarterback position. So Matthew Stafford was clapping his hands repeatedly to get the center's attention so he can get the ball snapped and the play started. That's why he was not called for a false start. Okay, item 6, offense not set. When the game clock is running after the 2-minute warning of either half, if all offensive players are not set simultaneously for 1 full second prior to the snap, it is a false start. If they're trying to clock the ball, time's running out, all the players have to be set prior to the spike before the snap of the ball. If they aren't set for 1 full second, it is a false start. So the penalty for a false start is a loss of 5 yards from the line of scrimmage. The foul is enforced prior to the next snap of the ball. So there you have it. Now you know. False starts, like my man Biggie Small said, baby, baby. And now let's get back to the Die Hard Den podcast with my man Seany J.
All right, we're back from Now You Know, and it's time for us to get on out of here. But before we do, as we always do every week, we're going to talk about the social media. So what we're going to do is tell the people, Seany J, how they can find you on social media.
Look up Sean Jennings on Facebook. You'll know me when you see me. I'm also the head administrator for the Detroit Lions Truest Fans Group. I'd be happy to add you if you wanna join our group. I keep us well updated. Curtis always posts a podcast there and other groups, so come join our group and join Facebook.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Curtis Steele 14. CurtisSteele14. You can follow the show on Twitter as well at Die Hard Den Pod C1. And I would like to give a shout out to the newest Lions group I joined a few days ago. It's called the Lions Den on Facebook. The administrator from another Lions group, I think this was One Pride. She sent me a little invitation for that group. So I look forward to interacting with those individuals over in the Lions Den Facebook group. Like I'm in the Truest fan page as well. And if you have any questions for the show, you can email the show at Gmail, the Die Hard Den podcast at Gmail. So thank you for listening. Tune in next week. We're going to break down the Lions performance versus the LA Chargers. I almost said San Diego. The LA Chargers for next week's show. Thank you for listening. As always, we appreciate our listeners. Thank you so much. And for my man, Seany J, this is Kurt Steele, and we are out.